Well, I couldn't have followed the more perfect person. Um, Something around making behavior change in organizations specifically really boils down to people, processes, and systems. And so, Lavinia, I am so grateful for you bringing us together. And the question you brought us together around today, how should we design and facilitate learning in 2026? I feel like design and we will facilitate learning and have better outcomes of learning if we ask ourselves a different question. And that is, how is learning enabling people, processes, or systems in organizations, in communities? And that when we answer that question, we will inevitably design exactly what Matt described, learning that actually helps people in an organizational context do the things that make organizations successful. So, backing up for just a minute, who am I? I'm Dr. Alaina Szlachta. I'm a data and measurement nerd. I could talk about data and calculating things and numbers all day long. I have had every single role in learning and development you can ever imagine. And I'm a former academic researcher. So, I love numbers, I love data, I love measuring things and telling stories with them. And so, in the world, the number one question that I get about how do we show that learning is really doing something, it's making a difference. We've spent all this time. How do we know that what we've done means something? And the answer is in this question: how is learning enabling people, processes, or systems? And one pushback I often get that I want to debunk, since so many people have debunked things today, is that we can't measure outcomes of learning because we can't directly influence anything in an organization. And I say BS. If you think about it for just a moment, every single function or department in an organization isn't directly contributing to revenue, net profit, engagement, retention. Nobody is directly contributing to those outcomes that organizations care about, that makes organizations viable and thrive. Every one of us is indirectly contributing to those outcomes that we care about. And we are doing that through people, processes, or systems. And so, my very simple call to action for you all, and I'm grateful I got to be the last one, is that all of these fabulous different approaches to learning design, they're really meaningless if we have no idea how our learning is enabling people, processes, or systems. And so, just to make sure we're all clear on like, well, what kind of learning might influence people versus processes versus systems? Let's use our chat. And my first question for you is, give me some examples of the type of learning that would specifically or most likely be contributing to enabling people. You don't have to describe it in a long sentence, but like there are certain like categories of learning that very directly are enabling people. What are some examples of that you can think of? Just to see how all this is resonating with everybody. What are some examples of learning that enables people more than anything else? Super interesting how people are reacting to a question shows the power of questions. Let me give you an answer, and then maybe that might inspire you to think about, because I want to go through all of these. So, good, Alicia, we're getting closer. Like types of learning programs, right? So, leadership training, leadership development. It is the biggest example of learning. Yes, Niha, exactly. Leadership training is an insane example of what we're really doing is simply enabling leaders to be better leaders. Now, of course, we have to unpack what do we mean? How do we measure that? How do we know what to focus on? Another good example of that is onboarding training. Onboarding can be like super boring or it can be fantastic, but at the end of the day, we are enabling people to do their jobs. Okay, now that we've got some examples, let's go on to processes. Can you think of some types of training programs that are meant to enable processes more than anything else in an organizational context? Foreign language learning? I like that. What else? What are some examples, like just basic training programs that we're all involved in at some point? Technical training's close. Compliance, we might have to unpack that a little bit more. So these are going to be so simple. You're going to be like, why didn't I think of this? Sales training is all about enabling a process. We want people to close a call, talk to a person in a certain way, sell them certain products, help them to figure out the right product for their needs. We are enabling people to facilitate specific processes that get us to the outcomes we're looking for. Another one is customer service training. People are intaking customers, troubleshooting, they've got problems. There is a process that we're likely training them to follow. And then, yes, safety or technical stuff. And then lastly, I'll just tell you systems specifically. That's like technology adoption or any sort of database training. We are enabling the database to do what it needs to do, or we are enabling the technology. But here's like the reality if we back it up for just a second. Every single training program is in fact enabling people, processes, and systems. Like, I'm surprised nobody said that. Wait a minute, why are you asking me to unpack these separately? In reality, training and learning is impacting people, processes, and systems. And in the end, it's a chain reaction. We enable people to do stuff. People then in the doing are likely doing some kind of process that enables some kind of system in the organization that leads to revenue, net profit, retention, and all of those things. And so if you aren't clear what kind of process, what specifically you expect people to be doing, and how that rolls up largely to support the organization, if that's difficult for you to answer when you're designing learning, then it's probably not going to be as successful as you hope. So, how do we design better learning? We have to answer this question: how is learning enabling people, processes, and systems?